Hey guys, it's EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com. Not wearing a mask right now since I'm in a hotel room alone, so can't be my usual super spreader self, but here to talk about Michigan signing day. Any questions, send them my way. Hopefully they pop up and I can see your comments. First time going live trying to, get questions as well. Just wanted to talk a little bit about Michigan signing day. Some of the biggest takeaways early in the morning. Obviously, you had Brandon Jennings flip to Maryland. Not unexpected. I hinted at that one, you know, probably more than a week ago. And then obviously, there was news that he wasn't going to sign early, which was a bad sign for Michigan. He ended up signing early, and it was still bad for Michigan. So, Brandon Jennings is a big loss. He's a Rivals 100 prospect. I have him graded as a top 150 prospect. He's was one of the highest graded defensive commits in this class. And, I texted with some of the commits before this even happened, so earlier in the morning. And, everybody that I exchanged messages with said, yeah, this is a big loss. It sucks losing Brandon. Michigan still has a good linebacker class. Obviously, they'll have to fight to keep Jaden Hood, but Tyler McLaurin's an upside prospect, and Junior Colson is, in my opinion, a top 30 prospect nationally. I love what Junior Colson brings to the table. So it'll be interesting to see how Michigan kind of addresses that. I think with Jennings, it was a stability concern. He, didn't know who was going to be left on staff. Obviously, there's rumors about Jim Harbaugh, but there's also rumors about Don Brown. And so I think that played a role for him. And then on top of that, he visited Maryland early in the process. He has a family tie to the school. So it kind of made sense once we started hearing that Maryland was involved that he was going to go ahead and pull the trigger and flip. I can see your comments. So again, make sure to leave a comment or question and I will answer. So but yeah, the other flip just happened not too long ago. Quinton Somerville, four-star defensive end from Arizona powerhouse Saguaro, flipped to UCLA. This one was really interesting how it played out. To be completely honest, Somerville was very, very solid throughout the process. Even as late as last week, Somerville was messaging me and talking about adding to the class and how he was so happy with the way things were trending. And then he kind of, I don't know, fell off the grid a little bit the last couple of days. And then last night, while I was on the drive from Chicago over to Detroit, we kind of caught wind that Somerville was going to flip to UCLA. Obviously, we posted that over at thewolverine.com. By the way, I have not said this, but if you're not a subscriber to thewolverine.com, you can use promo code EJ, so just my name, the two letters, E and J, and you can get 50% off a new annual membership. You get all types of insider recruiting information before it happens, so head over to thewolverine.com and subscribe. We'll have a ton of content coming out of signing day, and we will be live at the Donovan Edwards announcement in a couple of hours. But yeah, going back to Somerville, it was just strange how it really happened. We're still trying to dig for more information to see how the flip happened. We have heard some buzz that it was more of a mutual parting. At the same time, this was Sean Nua's, key land in the sense that he really led the way here. With Dominic Jadis, he did as well, but Don Brown was involved. You had Keyshawn Bennett, who Don Brown was the primary recruiter for. Don Brown also led the way with TJ Guy. So this is the recruitment that Sean Nua really took a hold of and was the absolute number one guy. So it'll be interesting to see what we can gather about how things have played out. Obviously, Michigan needs to do a lot better job recruiting along the defensive line. Luckily, it does not look like Rayshon Benny is going to sign with Michigan State today, and the door is open for Michigan to make a move. I think adding Rayshon Benny is a must here in the late period. I think it's possible that they can flip him from rival Michigan State, but we'll have to see. That one's going to be a complete team effort. I reported last night over at the Wolverine that talks have gone well with area recruiter Sherome Moore. So, everybody from Jim Harbaugh to Matty Dudek is going to be involved in that recruitment as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Sticking with defensive line recruiting, George Rooks. Expected to make a decision today. I don't think it will be Michigan. There's conflicting information about whether it will be Boston College or Penn State. George Rooks has been just a circus to cover. Michigan has continued to work on him. Obviously, they want a defensive tackle in this class. He's been a top priority. He was a Michigan lean for a while before he continued to delay his decision. Again, I'm not optimistic, but he has not signed yet with anybody. So we're still kind of waiting to see if he actually does. First question comes in from Mitchell Muscovin. Thoughts on both Jaden Hood and Jaden Burkes. Starting off with Jaden Hood, obviously he's not signing here during the early period, so do not expect that to happen. He's a guy that's been talking to some other schools, including Maryland, who obviously just flipped Brandon Jennings. He's talked to Miami, Minnesota, Kentucky has recently gotten involved. But I did have an exclusive interview up with Jaden Hood, I want to say last week, and I got some positive vibes from him. He's one of the guys that has never been to campus, and that was something he was really hesitant on. He plans to make it to Ann Arbor as soon as the dead period comes to an end. So, as soon as the early signing period comes to an end, the dead period doesn't seem like it's ever going to come to an end. So probably will make a trip in January to see Michigan on a self-guided tour. I think his parents really want to see it as well. And then after that visit, we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But that's kind of where things stand right now with Hood. With McBurrows, things have gotten so close with Miami. At one point last night, I was like, man, he is going to flip to Miami. Now, I've been reporting for more than a week that Miami's been a threat, despite others saying that they weren't. And obviously, they've made it really close. I got McBurrows on the phone on Sunday or Monday night, and that was the first time he ever went on the record and said, yeah, I'm kind of wavering in my commitment. His exact quote was something along the lines of, I love Michigan and I love Miami, and it's really close. And that's where I think we are. If I had to make a pick right now, I would say Jayden sticks with Michigan. He loves the program. He's built a really strong relationship with Michael Zordich. He made it out to Ann Arbor for that big visit weekend. I think his heart's with Michigan, but there's a lot of pressure for him to stay closer to home and play for Miami. He loved Miami early in the process, but they didn't really push for him, and now they obviously are. They've done a really good job working his mom, so it's become a really difficult decision for him. I think he sticks, but it really could go either way. Do I see the overall trend of offense going up while defense going down? Comes from Rap Videos. If you look at the class right now, obviously there are a lot of highly touted signees on the offensive side of the ball. If Michigan is able to keep Xavier Worthy later today, which I feel like they will, and add Donovan Edwards to J.J. McCarthy and a really strong offensive line group. You also have a Rivals 250 wide receiver in Christian Dixon, I think, and a Rivals 100 tight end in Lewis Hanson. I think the offense has some really quality lands. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, I think the only top 250 prospect that's currently signed is Junior Colson after Michigan just lost Brandon Jennings. So, I think offense is trending up. Michigan might need to look to the portal here during the late period to kind of beef up things on the defensive side of the ball. Andrew Morgan asked, who is left on the board besides Edwards that might join the class? So for today, obviously, we are monitoring Donovan Edwards. George Rooks is the wild card that's supposed to sign today that I talked about earlier. I think he's a guy that will likely end up in Boston College or Penn State, but you just never know. Overall, those are probably the two. Obviously, we're monitoring Xavier Worthy and Jaden McBurrows, who are committed but are wavering. I think Xavier sticks, and like I just mentioned, I think McBurrows sticks, but I think that one's a lot closer than Worthy at this time. So those are the ones we're monitoring. Obviously, there will be guys in the late period, that pop up. Michigan has re-engaged with Rayshon Benny, who's committed to Michigan State and not signing with the Spartans today, so he's definitely one to keep an eye on. With Amarion Cooper gone now, does Michigan have any potential flips left besides Rayshon Benny? That question comes from Ben Friedland. It's possible, not really right now on the board as it stands. There's limited options left on the board, but I do think that any guys that didn't sign late that are committed to other schools that fit the Michigan profile will get a closer evaluation here after signing day. Percentage-wise, where do you see Edwards coming to Michigan and Worthy from Jim Schreiber? I would go really high with both of them. I would probably go over 80%. With Don, I covered Texas for a long time, and the school that was always really scary was Georgia. It wasn't Alabama, it wasn't LSU, it was Georgia. And so I think I have a little hesitancy just because of my familiarity covering recruiting in the South. But at the same time, I think Michigan makes the absolute most sense, and I've gotten a lot of good vibes from Donovan on the Wolverines, so I'm going to say my percentage is pretty high there. My percentage is pretty high with Worthy. Xavier didn't do interviews for weeks, and luckily I was able to link up with him 2 days ago, and he gave me an exclusive. To shout out to Xavier and his mom Nikki for that. But yeah, I think Xavier sticks. I think that he has a really good bond with the class. Great relationship with Josh Gaddis. I know there are question marks whether he'll stay or not, but I think Michigan's done enough here, and they really hit a home run on the virtual in-home over the weekend. Anything on defensive linemen or corners not signing today that could help the defensive haul? Like I said, Michigan's going to evaluate some of those guys that are left after the early signing period. So right now we'll look at who is on the board. But, I can tell you that Michigan's definitely re-engaging with Rayshon Benny along the defensive line. I think that we can get anyone out of the transfer portal? Comes from Josh Halprin. I do. There are some big names in the transfer portal, but I think Michigan's going to hone in on that a little more after signing day. So right now I don't have, those big names to share with you, but I think they'll come as Michigan takes a closer look at the portal. Mitchell Muscovin asks, most underrated commit in the class, in my opinion. TJ Guy. I love TJ Guy. I love what he brings to the table from an athletic standpoint. This is a guy that's he's about 6'5", 250 pounds, and he ran the point guard for his basketball team and actually got some offers at lower level schools to play basketball. His athleticism is off the charts. He doesn't have, all that great of technique. He's still really unrefined, but once you put those parts together, his athleticism is just so amazing that I think you have to go with TJ Guy, just because he has, perhaps other than Tristan Bounds, the biggest upside in this class. He brings a lot of versatility to the defensive line, so I think he can be a 5. I think he can be a 3. He's going to be very much a steal out of New England. I think that was a really good find by Don Brown. I try to hash out my differences with Sam Webb. At Donovan Edwards ceremony comes from Justin. I don't have a personal problem with him. Obviously, he does with me. I've only met him a couple of times, only once on the Michigan beat. The other times were when I worked at the other place. I don't have anything personal with him. I think it's a shame the way he's going about it today on National Signing Day when it's supposed to be about the kids. But I'm really not going to stoop to his level and comment any further on that, just because, like I said, it's National Signing Day. It's about the kids, and I feel like it's a shame that that's going on right now. I mean, if it was any other day, whatever, but it's National Signing Day. Like, come on, man. All right, I think that does it for questions. So you can continue to ask them, and I will answer. If not, we'll talk a little bit more before I get out of here. Josh Halprin asked, do you see any surprises that are in our favor coming today? depends if you consider it a surprise. I mean, I wouldn't say that Donovan Edwards picking Michigan would be a surprise, maybe to some people. I wouldn't say that Xavier Worthy sticking would be a surprise, again, maybe to some people. Other than that, no. I mean, like I said, you never know with George Rooks. That's the one guy that could pull a rabbit out of his hat and do anything. So, not right now. I don't see a big surprise, but I do feel really good about Michigan landing Donovan. So if that's a surprise to you, then we'll go with that. But yeah, I mean, as far as the rest of the day, I'm about to check out of the hotel here soon and grab some lunch, and then I will be going to the Donovan Edwards ceremony. As I've reiterated, if you're just joining, I do feel really good about Michigan landing Donovan Edwards. They've had really good talks with him over the last couple of weeks, and I think he just feels comfortable with Michigan. I think he wants to be closer to home. There were a lot of reports about Notre Dame surging, and I'd never really bought into that. He doesn't really seem like a Notre Dame kid. He seems more like a Michigan kid. And, with Georgia, he's expressed some concerns about being a culture fit there, not just at Georgia, but just in the South in general. I think he really, really likes the Midwest. And so he has a lot of ties to Michigan. Obviously, had two former teammates sign with the Wolverines last cycle in Cornell Wheeler and Makari Page. And, Makari got some time this year, which was big for Donovan. And, Ron Bellamy, his high school head coach, is an ex-Wolverine. So I think, his bond with the class too, he made a cameo at that big visit weekend and watched the Michigan-Wisconsin game with the other commits. So I just think things are trending the right way for Michigan. Ben Friedland asked, just to clarify something you said on the board, do you have a higher rating for Junior than for JJ? Yes, I do. As much as I see JJ at his 37 workouts, I love JJ. I think he's a 5-star talent, a borderline 5-star talent. I think Junior is the complete package. I just don't think a lot of national people saw him, which is a shame because he's in Nashville, which is where a big recruiting service is headquartered. But I think Junior just didn't get a lot of eyes on him. But he is built extremely well. He's so fast. He moves so fluidly for the way he's built. He can play any of the linebacker spots at Michigan. He can rush off the edge. He's a guy that's going to make an impact day one. I think he has a higher floor than JJ, and that's a big reason I would rank Junior ahead of JJ, but I think they're right next to each other, to be honest. What time is Tavier Dunlap signing? Christian Dixon comes from Mark Lorenzen. Christian Dixon should be signing here shortly. He is on West Coast time, so remember, he's 3 hours behind. Tavier Dunlap is supposed to be signing soon, but it is interesting that he hasn't gotten his NLI, so we'll check on that if it's continued to be delayed. Do I think that Michigan needs to get rid of Matt Dudek? Comes from Ryan Riley. No, I think Dudek does a good job. He was on a lot of the virtual in-home visits this weekend, and he's been, in constant contact with a lot of these guys and targets heading into signing day. But I think Dudek needs his help. Covering recruiting at the University of Texas, I mentioned this, their recruiting department was a very well-oiled machine. There were so many people involved. They had a director who was in charge of scheduling calls, working with visitors, getting academic information out. They had a director of recruiting who was just basically an on-campus recruiter. They had a guy that specialized in Polynesian kids. They had a guy who specialized for on-campus visits. They had a guy who specialized recruiting Dallas. So they just had so many people. And, when I cover Texas, recruits mention those people all the time by name. At Michigan, the only person they mention in the recruiting department is Dudek. So I just think that, with Michigan sharing a lot of similarities to Texas, with them both being blue blood programs, I don't understand why Dudek doesn't have more help. I think some of the criticism he receives is a little unwarranted because he doesn't have this massive recruiting department that other schools have, like Texas, like Ohio State as well. So no, I don't think Dudek needs to be fired. In fact, I think the recruiting department just needs to be revamped. Is Donovan going Instagram Live for his announcement, or where can we watch it? You guys can actually watch the Donovan Edwards announcement right here on this YouTube page. Like I mentioned, I will be there. Our video man, Clayton Safey, will be there as well, streaming it live, so you can watch it right here on this YouTube page. He is announcing at 1:30 Eastern. Mark Lorenzen asks, who will Michigan's top targets be after today? All starts with Rayshon Benny, then keeping Jaden Hood. And then after that, they'll evaluate some other options and definitely evaluate some guys in the portal. But those are some quick thoughts, as well as, answering your questions. Hit the 20-minute mark, guys. Like I said, I got to check out of the hotel, get some lunch, and head over to the Donovan Edwards announcement. You can go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page, and we will have the live stream of the Donovan Edwards ceremony. So appreciate you guys for joining me.